Good afternoon, students. I'm your social science teacher, Malvika Daniel, and today we will study civics for class 7th, day 2. And today we'll start from the same chapter, that is Unequality, chapter number 1. Before beginning, I would request you to grab a notebook and a pen and write down everything that we discussed today in class. Okay? The topics that we will cover today are midday meal schemes. Then after that, we will revise what we have studied so far, and I have prepared a set of questions for you that you need to answer, and then we'll discuss the answers together. Okay, children? So without wasting any more time, let's begin. So children, do you know that the government has tried to implement equality through various ways? The two ways are through laws and second through government programs or schemes that are done to help the disadvantaged communities. These schemes are basically done so that they ensure greater opportunity for the people who have not had this in the past. So one such scheme that the government took was the midday meal scheme. Okay. And this midday meal scheme was a program that was introduced in the government elementary schools. So it was only introduced in the government elementary schools. And these schools, they were supposed to provide the children with the cooked lunch. Okay. And the first state that incorporated this was Tamil Nadu in 2001. So after that, the Supreme Court asked all the state governments that they should get this program in their schools within the next 6 months. So we can see from the photo we have that these are the poor children or the children who are studying in a government school. And these children, they are getting a cooked meal for lunch to eat, and these children are from those disadvantaged societies and the lower strata, and they are getting food in their own school. Okay, so once Supreme Court asked all the other state governments that they should also incorporate this scheme in their schools within the next 6 months. So this midday meal scheme had a lot of positive effects. Okay, the positive effects were, firstly, the poor children, they started getting enrolled in school and they started being regular to school. Since they had this thing in mind that they will get food or they'll get a cooked lunch from school only, so they were more regular in their school. So their attendance improved. Then secondly, the teachers reported that earlier these children, they would go to their home to have lunch and then they would not return back after having lunch. But since they got their lunch in their own school and they were getting food from the school only, they did not have to go back home. And their mothers, who earlier they had to interrupt their work or for feeding their children at home, did not have to do so any longer, since they were getting food from school. Apart from this program, midday meal program, also helped in reducing the caste prejudices, because both the lower class and the upper class children in the school, they would eat and have a meal together. So this thing of the caste or class indifferences they earlier had, they were being reduced. Also, these Dalit women who were unemployed earlier, they got to prepare the meal or cook the meal for the children, so they also got employed. And this midday meal program also helped in reducing the hunger of poor students. Okay, because earlier when they used to come all hungry and all starving, they would not concentrate on the studies. But now, since they got food from the school only, so they could better concentrate on their studies and focus on their school work. Although this midday meal program did help in improving the attendance of the poor children, and they got enrolled in school, but still there were big differences in the country. The schools which had the rich children attending and the schools which had the poor children attending. Even several schools in the country, like the government schools, they would have the Dalit children, and these children, they were being discriminated and they were being treated unequally. They were children who had to work in unequal situations, and their dignity was not being respected, their dignity was being violated. You know why this happened? Because even though the government has abolished untouchability, but still people refuse to think or treat these children or these people as equal. One of the main reasons for this is that the attitude needs to change. Although we know that the constitution guarantees that there will be no discrimination against people on the basis of their color, religion, economic status, or which gender they belong to or which society they are from. But still, people tend to treat the lower classes differently. It is only when people will begin to understand that nobody is inferior to them, all are equal by the constitution, and that every person, no matter from which society, color, religion, race, ethnicity that person belongs, that person needs to be treated with dignity. Then only this present attitude of people will change. We need to establish equality in a democratic society. This is the real struggle that India still continues to uphold. So let us revise what we studied today. We talked about the various ways in which the government tries to implement equality. It is by implementing through laws and by government programs or schemes. These are basically done so that the greater opportunities given to those people who have not had this in the past. And one such way was the midday meal scheme that was introduced, and we started earlier also. And through this program, all the government elementary schools and all these children, they got cooked lunch from school. And we know that Tamil Nadu was the first state to introduce this scheme in 2001, and then after that state, the Supreme Court asked the state governments that they should get this program in their schools within the next 6 months. And this midday meal scheme had a lot of positive effects. And firstly, children, they began enrolling in the school, and then they started regularly attending school. Then teachers reported that earlier, when students used to go back to have lunch at their home, and they would never come back or return back to school, but now this stopped because they were getting food from their school. Also, their mothers, who had to earlier interrupt their work to feed the children at home, did not do so any longer. And this program helped in reducing the caste prejudices, because both the upper and lower classes, they used to have a meal together, and then the Dalit women, they used to be employed to cook the meal. And then this midday meal program also reduced the hunger which the poor children suffered from, and then they could not concentrate because their stomach was empty. All this really reduced the problems the poor children faced. Then lastly, we also discussed that despite this program, there are still schools where children are discriminated, and still not just children, people are discriminated, and they are treated unequally and they are made to work or made to suffer in unequal situations. And in such situations, their dignity is not just violated, but then they have to really work more than others to survive. And one of the things that needs to be done is that we need to change our attitude, and we need to understand that nobody is inferior to us and nobody is above us. We are all equal, and we need to respect the differences we have, and that the constitution also guarantees that nobody should be discriminated, no matter from which color or which caste or which religion or which family or whichever social strata they belong from. They are all equal under the eyes of the law, and that they should be treated with dignity. That is the basic need of, or the need of the hour, that equality should be practiced in a democratic society, and it is a continuous struggle. Okay, children, so that is what we will do today. I have prepared a set of questions for you that I would like you to have a look. So these are the questions. The first question is, what are the ways in which government has tried to implement equality? And if you remember, I started with this answer only. The two ways are through laws, and second is through government programs or schemes. And this is done so that these poor people, they get better opportunity which they have not received in the past. Okay, the second question is, what is a midday meal program? And as I've explained this earlier, you will write about which was the first state, that was Tamil Nadu. Then you'll write about what the program is about, and then how Supreme Court asked the rest of the schools to also implement this. And then you'll write about all the positives we discussed in this question. What are the various benefits of this midday meal program? In this question, you'll write about the positives we discussed, like children would be more regular to school, they would not be absent now, and their enrollment would increase, they would have sufficient food to eat, concentrate more on studies, and then their mother would get better job, because they would prepare the food or at school only. Dalit women would prepare the food at school only, and then they had to not go back again to school and stay in school only and not go back home to get their food. Then the last question we have is, how are the people treated unequally, and what are the ways to eradicate this? So as I've mentioned earlier, that even though midday meal scheme was introduced, there are a lot of people or a lot of differences how the rich people in a school are treated, or how the poor people are treated. And these children specifically, they are discriminated and they are treated unequally. Also, they are made to work in unequal situations, and then their dignity is violated. And the thing that needs to be improved is the attitude, because once we realize that we are all equal and that nobody is superior or inferior to us, then only we'll respect the differences we have, and then we'll treat people with dignity, no matter what their race, color, religion, ethnicity, etc. may be. So that is for all for today, children, and I'll see you again tomorrow in class at the same time. Take care, be safe, okay?